What up, dudes, and welcome back to the Yo Video Games Podcast SideQuest, where we cover a subject that maybe didn't deserve its own, whole episode, but we wanted to talk about it anyways. So,
And today
thanks to
we're
all.
talking about deaths.
Yeah, we're talking about Des. Thanks to all, all our patrons. Anyone who's here listening. It's for you guys, and yeah, this is not really a fun one.
We're just talking about death in general,
Well,
our
I'm not talking about
philosophies on it.
this. It's fall, right? Fall begets winter, and winter is the season of death. So,
And Matt's a nihilist. He believes in nothing. So no, we're talking about Tri-Ace games.
yeah. So Trice not having a good year, sort of.
They did the Star Ocean games.
So basically, what happened is a financial
Valkyrie
report
profile.
came out that they're basically a couple million in debt, probably about to default on their loans.
Oh, good.
So they're basically all their hope. It's funny because one of the Star Ocean games is called The Last Hope.
Oh,
And now Star Ocean is their last hope, but that's not this Star Ocean game. This one's the Divine Force. So yeah, if you're kind of new to, like, you're not like me who doesn't know all these random ass studios and developers from like who the fuck knows where. So way back in the during the late 80s, early 90s, there was a whole scene in Japan on computer game. Computer gaming never took off in Japan like it did in Korea and other parts of the world, here included. But they did have a small scene of what are called like PC 88, PC 89, and the Sharp X 6800.
yeah, the Sharp X.
Gaming PCs. They had these gaming PCs, or PCs that had gaming capabilities that kind of had like a little, I don't know, like a little niche, a fandom or following or whatever, right? And one of the big companies that made games for them was Telenet Games, and they had what was called Wolf Team. You might have a lot of Wolf Team's products got ported over to the Sega Genesis, and a lot of them did end up over here. So you're talking like a lot of shmups, right? A lot of horizontal shooters, vertical shooters,
Yeah.
Or just general action games in general, right? So Wolf Team goes way back there. At some point, though, Wolf Team splinters off, or like the PC scene really dies in Japan.
They became the Lone Wolf Team.
I'm
not proud of it.
Well, basically what happened was, I guess one way to kind of look at it is like the PC gaming scene really died off in Japan in the early 90s. And so there wasn't really like, they lost the sort of niche status they had, and the TurboGrafx, kind of ran its course. Super Graphics didn't take off. The Super FX PC gaming thing didn't take off at all.
Right.
So Wolf Team kind of splintered a bit and formed what was the Tales of Team and Tri-Ace. So that's kind of where they came from. That's where a lot of them formed up.
They did the Tales of Symphonia and the Tales of
all those. I guess it would be better to say they worked on the first Tales game, Tales of Fantasia.
Right.
But like basically after that they kind of splintered. You have what kind of became the Tales of group and Tales of Studio, and then you had what was Tri-Ace. So that's kind of like their history. Like, okay, who are these guys? Where did they come from? And I'm like, well, they come from the 80s, ma'am.
Deep in the 80s.
But yeah, so their first game was Star Ocean on the Super Famicom. It was a Super NES game, the very first one. Right. And it was interesting because it had this whole opening cutscene voice acted on the Super NES. It's really bizarre. It's a trip to see.
Kind of impressive.
Yeah. And Star Ocean games are always kind of about the Prime Directive in Star Trek, if you know anything about that, where it's like any undeveloped planet of sentient life forms, until they reach warp drive capabilities, you're not to interfere with their
leave them alone,
cultural development. And that's what Star Ocean's always about. It's always about someone gets stranded. Usually someone gets shot down and gets crash lands on an undeveloped planet, usually in going through its medieval period.
A god.
Right, usually going through its medieval period of some sort, and at some point, like there's a connection there or whatever. So that's usually how Star Ocean games are almost always played out. And hell, the new one coming out this month is no different. But they were kind of a thing because even you remember them, Andrew, back on like the PlayStation 1, 2 era.
Oh yeah.
They were kind of known. Like Star Ocean kind of had it, like Star Ocean 2 got really was the first one to come out in North America, and it actually was kind of popular for for the time.
So I don't remember which one was the first one they had on PlayStation 2.
Well, the Star Ocean 3 till the end of time.
Is that what it was? I'm trying to remember which one it is that was. So you remember when like Shin Megami Tensei was getting popular? Like Shin Megami was getting popular in the States, and then we had a couple of friends that got like Tensei, and so my brother ended up getting Tensei and Shin Megami Tensei and Star Ocean. I can't remember which Star Ocean.
PS2 one is till the end of time.
Yeah, that must be the one. Got those two games, like, and they were kind of those two games were still sort of rare here. Like, not a lot of places just had that shit on the shelves.
Yeah.
And so he never opened that Star Ocean, I don't think, until
he was able.
Well, is it bad?
Well,
I don't think he opened it until he got a second one.
It's not even bad, but for some reason in Star Ocean 3 till the end of time on PS2, they decided to perform a post-birth abortion on their franchise.
Nice.
For some fucking reason, because there's a big plot twist in Star Ocean 3, and this is spoilers, but who cares? I'm saving you. Where the main characters find out that they're not alive, they're actually digital code in a giant universe-sized MMO. They're in their own program, and that real humans just kind of log in and play the game, and the actual villains, alien whatever creatures that are like alien attack force, is actually antiviral things going in. So it goes all reboot / matrixy. So they basically are telling you that everything in this series up to this point was just a digital simulation, a video game within a video game, and you are just playing digital code trying to not get Norton antivirus away. And that was their big plot twists, which is stuck around technically, because Star Ocean 4, 5, and 6 all occur before 3, which means that no one's aware of it, but it's still technically canon.
That's the shitty.
I don't know how that wasn't retconned immediately.
I fucking hate. It's like with all it was all a dream. God, no, I'm upset.
Yeah.
They deserve to go under.
Right? So
they deserve this.
So it's like, man, I don't. Oh.
But they also did Valkyrie Profile,
which is also really cool.
Yeah.
Also
all a dream?
No. Valkyrie Profile is just misery porn, because you play as a Valkyrie, and your job is to go and find these warriors that have just recently died.
Right.
So wherever you go, you have to go and watch their last moments before they died, and then recruit them.
Hell yeah, man.
Into Odin's army. It's pretty cool. It's got a really unique battle system.
Let's
pretty dope.
Sad together.
It got a prequel / sequel on PS2, Valkyrie Profile Silmera, which was
in like 2006,
something like that. Yeah, it's a time traveling. It was like a time traveling Valkyrie Profile. And then they kind of
disappeared.
Well, okay, so before they disappeared, they really they tried to get on the HD bandwagon early. They were one of the Japanese publishers who tried to really make their own HD engine, which they pumped out Infinite Undiscovery and Star Ocean 4: The Last Hope for the Xbox 360 really quick.
Right.
So they were really trying to get ahead of the curve, because
Infinite Undiscovery. Why do I?
A lot of people did not transition to HD very well. Unfortunately, as the case seemed to be with all of the JRPGs on Xbox 360, even in America, it wasn't enough for people to bite. They couldn't do it. Blue Dragon, Lost Odyssey, Tales of Vesperia, Eternal Sonata. Nobody could, no matter what Microsoft did with the JRPG genre on 360, it just wasn't getting enough eyes on it. Didn't sway enough people in North America, didn't sway anybody in Japan.
They also just didn't advertise it very much at all.
I feel like a couple they did, and then the rest they were just kind of like, at some point they just went, fuck it. It's not happening.
Fair.
So it's kind of, it's just kind of a bummer, because they really did try to get ahead of the curve on HD with the 360, and just nobody was there. The other problem I would argue, though, is that both Infinite Undiscovery and Star Ocean: The Last Hope are cringe factories. They went hard into the cutesy anime thing, and I don't mean like anime, like, because like Tales of anything is always anime as fuck. Like Eternal Sonata is super anime as fuck. They went into like the super cutesy anime thing, with their characters and with their dialogue, and it was just like this fucking like, man, like
and now that shit would just would do it for people now. Basically,
what Star Ocean, and I didn't really see enough of 5, which was also done on a shoot. By the time they got to Star Ocean 5 on PS4 or 3, they were on shoestring budgets getting those games done.
Right.
And 5 and 6 had the same problem, where it's like they're still cringe factors. They are, at least from the demo I played of 6, because they have a demo up, you can go play it yourself. But when people talk negatively about anime games and anime dialogue, this is what they're talking about. Like, it's like, this is where this, like, they are what the stereotype is always making fun of.
Well, that almost makes me want to ask you to stream it.
I mean, I did stream the demo, and I was just like,
no.
Oh no. It's bad, because like, and people I can always tell, you can always tell when someone really has no idea what really doesn't play, JRPGs or anime games, because I'm always gonna like, well, you're the Xenoblade guy, you're the Xenoblade, that's rich coming from you play Xenoblade. Like, yeah, I play Xenoblade with actually good dialogue.
Ooh.
That's the thing. It's like, that's how I know you actually don't know, what you're talking about, because it's like the dialogue and the way things are just acted out, and the way lines are delivered in Star Ocean 6 versus Xenoblade 3 is night and fucking day difference. Like, one feels like someone tried to make like, okay, would a human say this? Yeah. And then Star Ocean 6 is just kind of like just the most hyperactive, but just like hyper intensive. This is not normal human dialogue. Like, this is not how they,
yeah,
it's not how people
program
talk.
within a program, man. So it's all,
you know what, Andrew?
It's all in
maybe
here.
Maybe that's their goal all along.
So does somebody buy their IP from them if they go under?
Well, someone bought the company. A mobile developer, Nipro, bought them in 2015. So they got bought up, but they didn't get the IP. Enix had their most of their games, and then Enix merged with Square, so it's Square Enix. So Square Enix has the IP, and this is where it gets kind of sad, because they still did work for Square Enix, even being owned by Nipro, mobile company, and they had a semi-successful Star Ocean mobile game in Japan. I don't think it came out to America. It came out to mainland Asia, and then that one shut down first. And then last year, Star Ocean Mobile shut down in Japan, and they've basically been, it's kind of like they've kind of been like cut off and left adrift in the sea. Because like their lifeline was this mobile game, this gotcha Star Ocean mobile game.
You've been left adrift in the Star Ocean.
Yes, they have been left adrift in an ocean of stars.
Fuck.
So the last year, they've just basically just bled out any money they had completely. So everything is all in on Star Ocean 6, and there's even rumors saying that like this game was possibly being worked on for free.
No.
By the developers there, to just sort of like, if we can make this a success, we can bounce back, kind of thing. That's rumor. I don't want to say that's fact. I'm not saying it's fact. I'm just throwing that shit out there. So yeah, it's just kind of like, and here's the saddest thing, is that like this year Square Enix published a new Valkyrie game, not Profile, but Valkyrie Elysium and Star Ocean 6. But here's the thing. Tri-Ace has had no involvement in Valkyrie Elysium that came out this year because Square Enix had Soleil, ex-Team Ninja people, make the game entirely.
So it was good.
Yes. Yes. I mean, it's my surprise hit of the year. Nothing but the gameplay is good. Gameplay is great. Everything else is mid as fuck in that game. But the gameplay, pretty good. And I give it, there's this wonderful thing because there's multiple endings in Valkyrie Elysium where there's an ending that's literally, I call it like, I just love it. Like it's the fuck it ending.
What do
Where
you get for the fuck it ending?
you just leave.
Oh, fuck this.
You're supposed to go kill Fenrir, and you can literally just meet up with like this guy who was your betrothed when you were alive, and you can literally just say fuck it and leave. And you just see Odin's Raven looking at you like all pissed off.
That's amazing.
And it just goes to the credits. You just like, come with me, run, don't look back, and just okay. You just run off. Boom, credits. I'm like, that's amazing. I love this fucking game.
That's the good ending then.
And apparently that's the best ending you can get too. Because I got one of the other endings, but I mean it wasn't really that good. It was
upsetting ending.
Well, it was like because there's like I don't know what the other endings are. One of them is like you side with Odin and remake the world, which means the world gets erased, more or less. I mean, I guess this is all spoiler for Valkyrie Elite. Who fucking cares? Nobody's playing. 10 people played this game this year. So
well, apparently, yeah. I mean, they're not
trying. The sales are a disaster. But like, yeah. Anyways, point is, their own franchise, which they kind of had and sort of tried to nurture, they didn't even get to make the new game this year. That got passed off. Square Enix literally just gave it to someone else because they can. So everything for them is just all in on Star Ocean 6. And I don't know if they're going to get residuals for it because they don't own the IP. So
that's such a bummer.
So I don't know what's going to, a lot of people are kind of like, man, if this isn't a runaway success, I don't know how they're going to basically be able to keep the lights on. And yeah.
And that concludes the sad tale of Tri-Ace.
You know what though? They were one of the studios that Monolith outsourced to do work on Xenoblade 2 when they didn't want to do nothing but crunch. So, and they've done grunt work on other games. So really at the end of the day, I'm kind of like, some people have floated the idea and I don't think it's bad necessarily. Someone's like, Nintendo should buy them, just get them back on their feet, and then kind of let them dust themselves off and rebuild themselves for Nintendo. The thing is, they don't come with a franchise though. It's just the studio.
Yeah, that's the real problem. So why buy them?
You know who should buy them?
Snap up all those people.
Because well, and again, they are owned by a mobile developer, but apparently this mobile company, NetPro, is also doing really terribly. Like they're going under. Here's what I think should happen. Microsoft should buy them. Microsoft should buy them, get them back on their feet, dust them off, and say, make me a couple JRPG franchises.
Okay, I could see it.
They've got pedigree. They just need a fucking editor. At this point,
I could see that. Yeah. All right.
They did do some exclusives for the 360 back in the duh. I mean,
in the duh.
Back in the duh. Some people are saying Nintendo should buy them, or some have even suggested they should be folded into Monolith. I'm like, nah. Microsoft should buy them. Microsoft should buy them, turn them into do what Nintendo did with Monolith, and let them turn themselves into an RPG powerhouse just for Microsoft. They would, I think, I don't know. It just seems when Sony has no interest in them because Sony apparently hates Japan. Like all of a sudden they had flashbacks to World War II real hard, and now they did want nothing to do with it.
Yeah, I don't know what's with that, but like Sony suddenly just wants nothing to do with the Japanese market. It's fucking weird.
It feels like someone high up pissed off someone else high up at Sony, and they're basically just sort of like, it could be that it feels like that, like, right? It feels like Sony's just
weird.
Angry at Japan, and it could just be simply the fact that Sony's just like Japanese. Our Japanese developers, the Sony Studios Japan, when it existed, didn't put out a hit for fucking ever practically. We have no reason to keep them around. All the big hits come from elsewhere. It could just be simply money. It might just be that, where they're like, Puppeteer, Tearaway, stuff like that. Like this didn't sell. Like what? Like Gravity
Tearaway
Rush,
was at least fun.
and the thing, they're highly regarded. Like their output, like Shadow of the Colossus, Tearaway, Puppeteer, highly regarded, except for Knack. Knack's kind of the one where it's like, okay,
Don't even
nobody
remember
really.
Knack. So
Knack is a meme. Nobody actually liked Knack, whatever. But yeah, like point is, I don't think Sony would buy them because Sony just has like this fucking complete disinterest in the Japanese side of game development right now. But I think Microsoft has been openly adamant, like, no, we need to strengthen our Japanese and Asian game developers. And here you go. They're a prestige, well, kind of. they're at least a name. They're a well-known named developer of JRPGs.
they do have a following for some of their stuff.
Yeah,
they are in the beloved category.
I think if Microsoft bought them and kept the name Tri-Ace and kept the studio as it is and just hired more people in, I think people would follow that and be like, you know what, that's pretty cool. I'm glad Microsoft's doing that kind of thing. Like I think it would go well. It may not. I'm not saying they're gonna somehow pull out a 10 million selling title. This isn't. It's not even about that. It's not even about like making them tons of money. It's about checking off the bulletin board of what do we have covered. Because Microsoft practically has a monopoly on Western RPGs at this point.
Right. Yeah.
Almost. But like, yeah, I'm here sitting here like I think Microsoft should buy them. And in fact, if some point next year, after the financials come out this year, whatever, Microsoft we're buying Nepro and Tri-Ace, and we're just going to make Tri-Ace a big thing. Part of me would just sit there and be like, yeah, good on them. Probably wouldn't even cost that much. They probably wouldn't even cost $100 million. They're probably worth the 10 millions of range.
It's a sneeze. That's a wet fart.
Yeah, could you imagine Microsoft is like, yeah, we're acquiring Tri-Ace for $25 million or 20 million or even 10 million.
They wouldn't even make an announcement. They just do it.
Well, they don't even have to announce the cost. They could literally just say, hey, we're acquiring this well-known Japanese RPG developer. And all it does is look good. We just have a look good press release. We're getting into JRPGs. We're strengthening our portfolio.
Yeah, I'll buy that.
And what does it cost to them? Like what would be like spending a dime for you and me for Microsoft? Fine. I think it's a win-win. So there's my hopeful. You know what? I want to end it on a hopeful note. I think Microsoft should pick them up. I think they might even do that. They'll survive.
I'll believe in that. I mean, it just means that Star Ocean's never coming back. There's no more Star Oceans. But
oh no, like unless Microsoft can cut a deal with Square Enix, which they probably wouldn't. They probably just want tries to make their own stuff at this point.
Yeah,
which is also fine. Like Starfield's a brand new IP, and they bought Bethesda, so yeah.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. No. Well, anyway, the note to end on hope is we hope you enjoyed this. And
yeah.
Obviously, you can make requests. You can either tweet us or comment in the Patreon comments or on the community page. Maybe we'll do a poll. We'll get a poll going for the next topic. But this is the time to make requests of topics, weird topics, fun topics, any topics. Movies, games, music. Matt loves music.
Yeah.
I don't know. I know fuck all about it, but I'll talk about it for you. All right, I'll catch you next time, dudes.
Later, dudes.